The University of Cincinnati started that journey a little while ago, and I want to give you just a little bit of a peek into the University of Cincinnati and where we start from. And to do that, I will give you a little bit of statistics so you have an idea of the university's environment. We really are looking at a common practice for delivering IT services in a multidisciplinary community. And we have about 44,000 students and about 22,000 employees. We are the largest employee in the Cincinnati area. And every fall, we get about a little over 2,000 devices hit our network all at once on that day one in fall. So you all know how that feels. And just to give an idea of some of the things that our students are looking at, our library system has about 2.5 million ebooks online and about 100,000 online full-text journal articles. So there's a lot of information in our information technology infrastructure and, of course, the infrastructure that carries that. But here's just a little bit about the University of Cincinnati.
For every hero, there is an origin story, an experience that made them who they are. For a new generation of explorers, pioneers, and innovators, that experience is college, offering a different kind of education, one guided by distinguished professors who understand experience as the best teacher. Greatness lies beyond the classroom. This is where you start. University of Cincinnati. Do more.
So we have a lot of exciting things going on at the university at all times, as you all do in every good day. And we wanted to take a look at that big picture on what happens here at the University of Cincinnati and how do our IT services underpin the activities. And of course, the activities in a Research One institution, the big ones are delivering instruction and research. And the underpinning IT services that help support that and go usually in a higher education, as we know, is a highly distributed environment. So IT happens in all kinds of places in order to meet the needs of the specific subject matter experts. And so one of the things, of course, we learned when we were looking at our big picture was we really see always an increasing demand on IT services. Of course, in today, we're delivering our instruction not only on campus and on regional campuses if they exist, but of course to the world through e-learning and all the possibilities there. So that increasing demand just continues as new tools come about. And how do we continue to make sure we build sustainability into providing the highest level of IT service in that 24/7, 7-day-a-week, 365 environment? Of course, that also requires increased capacity needs, not only for infrastructure, but for people. And then, of course, that central and local IT sometimes is disconnected, that also then results in duplication of efforts. And we're all working from limited funding, as everyone is. So how do we do something to improve and find a way to get through some of these challenges? So we started looking at service management when we did a study at the university to find out what our IT services really look like and what our maturity level was. And that led us to the potential of service management being a way to improve our delivery and even better understand what we are delivering and how we're delivering that as far as quality of the service. So after we had that, we started looking at governance of IT university-wide, and that really gave us our first opportunity to open the windows of discovery and take a look at some of our gaps. And in that discovery mode, one of the first projects we came up with was to try to work out how to do process improvement, to kind of identify what those processes are and how do we go about improving them in a systematic way that is inclusive, that we could bring in not only the central IT groups, but also those distributed groups that provide so much hands-on support directly to our faculty and students and our researchers. So we did a couple of tasks in that discovery mode, and we wanted to look at our as-is world, where we really were. So based on this blue ribbon report that we had put together with the help of Gartner coming in and doing that across campus, again, it became pretty clear that we had some pretty huge gaps and disconnects between all the IT services working well together. In the areas where there is central IT, which provides those large ERP services and our networking and our security, things like that. And then these distributed units that are so highly specialized and working together and being able to connect in a way where we could eliminate some of those challenges we had identified. So of course, we went about doing that by assembling a team. And one of our first first 3 steps of that as-is process was to develop a gap analysis report. And specifically, some of the higher end work we had done was we discovered that one of our first service management areas to work on was incident management. So we went ahead and took an efficiency report with some outside help there to find out what would be the priorities of looking at improvements across our process and looking at maturity. So we decided incident management was the place to start, and that we should first do these as is, where are we, and where would we really like to be in order to move through the process maturity models that are based on basic frameworks. And we chose the ITIL framework as a start for doing some of this work. And immediately we learned that time and availability would be a real requirement and commitment, and how could we encourage folks to do that and make sure there was enough coverage to manage that and not adding more people and the cost of all of that. And then of course, planning really being the key to success. So that's when we took a look at the opportunity available through an agile approach to project management, which really helped us get better and continue to hone our time management and making sure the tasks are all getting done in a timely manner, and that we can actually move our projects along. So our first project team included, from left to right, we have our College of Medicine Director of IT, Kent Norton. Our sponsor is next to Kent, Don Ferrari. Our Service Desk Manager and Incident Manager is Lisa Paget. And then we had young George Russell, who works with our Enterprise Desktop Services Group, our Change Manager, Debbie Bird, and we had Barb Renner, who's our Network Operations Center representative. We have our Business Relationship Manager, Vernon Jackson. Of course, myself is next time the Program Director, and then our Toolset Administrator, Brian Tyree. And so this group decided to get together 3 days a week for about half days each, and we really were looking at a war room setting and how to get through some of this work. So our as-is collection was the first thing we needed to do, and to try to find gaps. It just so happened that our work articulated itself into a 26 gap list, which was very convenient for our alphabetic arrival here. And this string art, as Kent likes to call it, gave us a pretty good idea of some of the high level, the 6 big deal areas where we found the most gaps, and helped us prioritize what do we work on first. And we also, of course, very quickly realized that these gaps not only impact incident and request fulfillment, they also have an impact for improvements across all of the service areas, whether it's transition or design, strategy. They all kind of lie in there somehow. So it's all foundational in trying to help us go forward and make some of these improvements happen. Well, of that, we decided we'd take in our first process design to improve incident and request, the top 3 priorities. And the first thing, as I mentioned, was the program level gaps seemed to rise to the top pretty quickly. And programmatically, one of the things that we found in our work was that the service catalog is something that is a really important anchor in order to really provide improvement in both incident and request. And of course, it will also relate to change and other things as we move forward. But not having the services identified and defined, and then how the IT services underpin that. So we really were looking at 2 different directions. What are the business services at the university, and what do they deliver? And then how does IT really underpin and enable the delivery of those services? So it's kind of the first time we were really looking closely at what the business, or in our case, the university, delivers to our students, faculty, and staff, and then the world as the results of the research. In our university, we have the cooperative education, so we really deliver to the business community and other service communities students to really work for pay. Their whole semester is nothing but working there, and then the following semester they take their coursework and then they apply it to the next semester of work, and so on. So we knew that those things were all part of what we try to provide through our IT services. So in identifying what those services are and then who owns them, in order to have a better understanding in incident management about how, when you get a call in of something broken, what is it related to, what service, that all has to do with, of course, your models and being able to escalate both accurately and quickly after you do the intake at the service desk of what the incident may be or what the request is. Interestingly, in our as-is work, we did do some outreach, which I'll talk about in a minute, but one of those pieces was benchmarking, and we had the opportunity to talk to Yale University, who also found that service definition was one of the first things they needed to do also in the process of trying to do improvement with incident and requests. So we knew we were not the only ones to see that, so it was interesting to see that that has also been seen by others along the way. One of the other pieces, of course, is in a highly distributed area group like higher education, we tend to have a lot of tool sets that do exactly the same thing, that duplication of effort that we saw. So since we had scoped this first project to the central IT group and some of our distributed groups, so we included about 3 of our distributed groups, and in the formation of our team, not only did we include those who were working in our incident workspace, literally defined by our current toolset, which was BMC's footprints. They worked in the same workspace, and then we had some of our other distributed groups were in a separate workspace that was defined by going through an exercise with the IT managers in our newly formed governance to define all of the pieces that go into incident management. So we had some cross workspace things going on in that, which made the tool a little bit clunky. So one of the things is that common practice we were trying to get to. And in that, in our team formation, we not only included some of our distributed groups on the core team, but we also added an extended team layer that included some other of our distributed groups in areas that we have some high collaboration and we have some differentiation in expertise. Just to make sure and keep us on track with how we start to design incident management so that it can be a common practice across all of these groups going forward as we find success and improvement here. So the technology piece was to also decide, do we go for a new tool set or go with something we already have? So in the central group, not only did we have footprints, but we also had team dynamics that was actually brought on for project management and had not been fully looked at just yet. So we had to make a decision about that along the way as well. So in order to do that, we felt we had to, on our excursion and our trek here, we needed to meet some of the indigenous people and go out and actually talk to them in some fashion and gather some data because we weren't really clear. We were pretty good thinking we know what our students need and what they're thinking and how they go, but we were a little bit surprised by looking at the survey data because we felt we really were maybe a little under average for delivering IT services, and that the rating of that would be, you know, somewhere around 50 or 60% in customer service satisfaction. But what we learned was it was actually much closer to 80 to 85 from doing this work. And there was some really good comments that we got through the survey work as well, because we left the field for that. And so that was very pleasantly surprising, but also helped us identify what the gap is between the 80 to 100%, which you're always striving for. The second thing we did was we did focus groups, again, with our students, faculty, and staff. And in doing this, we worked with our project management office who actually facilitated the work. But then that extended team also came in, and they recorded the work there in the actual focus group event. So then they could debrief us on what they heard in order to separate the team to not have undue bias there, since we were able to do that and had the capacity. And the focus group work was very interesting, and also provided us a lot of really good stuff that led to those 26 gaps that we were able to identify. And of course, the benchmarking, looking at our peer institution groups, we also worked with Gartner to identify some of that, and also to see what they had in their benchmarking data that would relate to what we were doing here to try to improve incident and request. And our colleagues in our various benchmarking groups were just phenomenal in sharing their experience and taking a look at some of their pitfalls that they ran into to help us to try to avoid those, and also what their great successes were and how to emulate those as we moved along. So in meeting the folks here, as I mentioned, we learned a little bit about language and expectations. And we also know that expectations minus reality will always equal disappointment. So it was a good learning experience when it came to some of our communication approach, and to some of the delivery of service, and where we had some gaps as far as support and so forth that our students and faculty really were looking for. So we're looking to the framework to help us shore that up a bit, document it better, give us some good ideas about metrics and being able to improve our customer satisfaction as far as what questions we ask and how to go forward, and put in some key performance indicators and things like that. And then, of course, as I mentioned, identifying our services and service ownership being a really big part of moving forward there. Well, our students, of course, feel that today we're just a wee bit behind in how we deliver some of these things as far as support and being able to get to help. They really are more interested in self-service. So the self-service piece really accelerated our intention to put out our first version of a knowledge base, which was really published about 3 years ago. And just this past June, we surpassed our 1 million article usage. So it keeps increasing every month, of course, as new articles are posted, and everybody contributes in the IT community to the articles. We have a knowledge manager. We are currently using SharePoint to deliver that. And it has been a great success, especially as we've gone through some pretty major changes at the university in one of our major ERP areas of our student information system in this past year. So the students have really appreciated that, as have the faculty and staff. And it's a tool that's been extremely successful here. And we're looking forward in our incident process to build in knowledge-centered support as part of this new model of incident management for us. So that, of course, is a great segue to lead us into our 2B and the possibilities. So knowledge-centered support has been a kind of a buzz for the last few years, and our knowledge manager went ahead and got certified in that. So it's pretty exciting. So that's one of those possibilities we're looking at as we move forward in our incident implementation now that the plan has been designed. And of course, other improvements, as we mentioned, will of course have an impact in a positive way against some of our other service areas as we move forward, and that has also been demonstrated with the relationship between change and incident and problem as well. So as I mentioned, we are a distributed group. We have 14 colleges at the University of Cincinnati, so there's a lot of opportunities here to improve and learn and integrate some of these individual educational missions into a common practice to deliver our IT services more consistently. So knowing that we're in a distributed group, we were kind of looking across at these foothills, if you will, that leave us a little bit in a siloed mode, and how to build the bridges between the colleges and central IT in order to have a more fluid delivery of service and a better, more consistent way of assisting our students, faculty, staff where they are with what they need. So we know we can do a better job. We all seem to be in agreement on that and moving forward together. So we're changing from a fragmented organization to a more distributed organization, so there's more fluid flow, better use of economies of scale across our IT services and shared services in a way that support areas that don't have a direct IT relationship or a local group that's supporting them. Of course, in order to get to all of this, my colleague Kent would definitely pull this out, that in order to do that, relationship is key. So in our organization, when we started this process through really putting together an IT governance, so starting at the top there, that integrates with the university's integrated decision-making process, it was made very clear from the beginning that this is not about jobs. It's not about centralizing IT. It's about how to work in a distributed environment rather than a fragmented environment, and just to be able to do that better in order to get better capacity of our resources. So we did a good job by getting everybody in the room together in the beginning. The IT managers was the first committee put together. Then the structure of the governance was put in place with a IT council, and then 6 committees underneath that hit those major university services like e-learning and research, and then the shared services concept and how we go about doing those sorts of things. And now we're putting that process that goes with that structure into place as part of our work in building that, so that when decisions are made, it really comes out for the IT council and the governance process to include that service portfolio management piece is the next step for them in making that work a little better, a little smoother, and a lot smarter. So shared experiences definitely help us along the way. We all can have some fun while we're communicating and sharing ideas through various communication things, whether it's listservs or SharePoint or other opportunities. We're doing that better than we've done before. And then we can better evaluate the shared value of each other's expertise in the areas that we have strengths to help support each other. So that led us to, of course, that governance mountain, and I'm usually climbing the mountain while Kent has found the cable car along the way. So this is where we're navigating some awareness. So we started at the top with our awareness education and training, and the first thing that we did really was get the framework foundations course and certificate for our IT leadership. That's our CIO and all the assistant vice presidents underneath and everybody that supports that office. So they did that pretty much right off the bat with our program, which was pretty exciting. Then we had the opportunity through one of our service management vendors that's here that we've had a close relationship that also does a lot of our training. She brought in a simulation called Grab a Pizza from GamingWorks, which is actually in Europe. And the owner of that company came on site and delivered this simulation, which is a fantastic overview of the service management life cycle from like a bird's eye view. You get to see it all. It's very engaging. It includes some observers, so you can have some good review and retrospective of what you see happen. It's really building a business over the course of a year. It was just great to bring in the Dean of the College of Medicine and some of our other university folks, in addition with our central and distributed IT group, so we could have a good conversation about how these processes really do support and need resourcing in a way to better deliver instruction and research. We did that, we ran that simulation twice, and it was a great success both times. We really learned a lot. So those collaborations and coming together have really expanded our knowledge and have changed how we do our work here at the university. There's always room for improvement, certainly, but we've made some good strides and are continuing to find new and better ways to do that. So some of that early work, even before we started this project, was done by that IT managers group. They really had come up and said to us, let's look at a service desk across that level 1 support that could be a central service desk Level 1 will happen in the distributed areas just because people walk down the hall and grab you right out of the hall, that sort of thing. But really that there would be one place for our students to go, so that single number kind of concept, and then they would escalate appropriately and move on. So that's the direction our design went. We also had started taking a look at our services and what kind of IT services do we all deliver across our colleges and so forth, so we can begin to get an idea of some economies of scale for software delivery, hardware purchasing, those sorts of things. And of course, that all leads to making changes. And we know that the course corrections are always a part of working through a project of this magnitude, and seeking assistance again from all of our distributed areas. So this first concept in governance to really put in a portfolio management process is very exciting, in order to be able to better prioritize what comes first and where we're going to put our resources to do that. So we're looking forward to that working well. In fact, our program charter is going through that process right now. So that's a policy and procedures process as well. And then the service catalog, our first version will be released here early this spring. It's a technical view to start with in order to support this incident request transition that we're making in the implementation of how we deliver level 1 through level N support. And then all of this is related to process. So our process design really for incident and request was about a 6-month process that led us to this detailed diagram that then is broken down even further for each thing. And I know it's very difficult to read here, but I'll make it available through the link that'll be part of this presentation. But it includes as much as we could come up with, including communication plans, training and education, our tool set piece. And we are currently working in 4 legs of this, and 2 of which have been completed as far as our service definitions and identifying our services for our version 1 of our service catalog. And we are now in the tool set leg, and of course along the way communication and training is a part of each of these legs. So it's moving right along. And I just couldn't say it enough, so I put it up there 3 times so you wouldn't miss it. Again, we were using process design engineering. You may have heard of Donna Knapp. She wrote the book on it in relation to the ITIL framework. So that's where we started. I know you're all probably very familiar with the process model here that Deming has put out, and then we put this 10-step in place that Donna Knapp wrote the book on. So that as is requirements definition, there's a product there that's a document that comes out that gives us a good start for doing any tool set configuration or reconfiguration work that goes along with that ultimately, and of course how the process works from top to bottom. That gap analysis report has been invaluable to help us with each step of the way, including business cases for making changes to things like a tool set or something like that. Then getting the design in place, and then doing the implementation. And of course, the implementation work takes a bit of time because it's organizational change management. But having a war room was very helpful. Having project management background in the room also was really imperative to doing this well. And then we found a nice place that gave us a white wall to write on to help us, because we're always looking and heading toward the service excellence island in our expedition toward delivering that kind of service at the university. So we had our first gathering and beach party, and we're looking now toward strategy and design as we implement these improvements, which have come quite a long way. So that leads us to our treasure chest, and this link that you see there will be part of the presentation. And in that treasure chest are really the artifacts of us going through that 10-step process. That'll always be changing because we'll be adding to it as we continue to refine our improvements along the way. So thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Irma. That was extremely comprehensive. A lot of well, I'll just take some time to really start digging through your presentation to break it down, but I enjoyed it. I'm sure the rest of the group enjoyed it. Now's the time to start entering your questions. You can enter them in the chat window. Just use your name and the institution. Or if you prefer, I mean, this is a small group, you could raise your hand to ask a question. Actually, why don't we try experiment? There's only 12 of us. I'll go ahead and unmute everybody. And if you're not talking, just unmute or just mute yourself. So anybody have any questions they want to ask Irma? We have several minutes left.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Ed Zucker, excuse me, Colorado School of Mines. Can you talk more about the grab a pizza simulation? That looked interesting. I had never heard of it.
Yes, I'd be thrilled to. Grab a Pizza is a 24 participant simulation. It's built truly on Domino's Pizza. So what it does is it takes you through 12 months of running that business. The first 6 months are already done. So you start in month 6. And the first thing that you do with the facilitators is they kind of go through a little bit about your organization, so they understand your values and some things about that, because you'll take the simulation and see then some ways that it applies as you do some of the review and retrospective of each month. So each month is 30 minutes. And in the first 10 minutes, you're given an opportunity to purchase resources like people or training. And you have, 8 stations. You have a change management table that goes through change management. You have a table that does incident management and problem management. You have a table that's operations, that sees all the service and everything. And the goal is you're going to reach 6 million sales by the end of the year. That's your goal. And then the business group is also in the room. So you have your CEO and your CIO, and then you have your financial group. You have the IT financial group, and then you have the whole CEO financial group there. And then there's 12 observers who watch what's going on, because what always happens in the simulation is you start off and you're kind of trying to figure it out overall, because you're doing the whole picture. By the way, it includes in that 30 minutes, you do all of this, and then they record what you spent, they record what you earned, they record the cost of incident, the cost of change. It's really very in-depth, and you move through those last 6 months, and you go as far as you can go in your time for the day, and you start to learn things like, for instance, and I hate to give it away because it's so fun to do in the simulation, but the first thing that comes out is you realize that your CIO and all the IT groups are not talking with your business. So you really don't know where you're headed. And so you're not sure what changes should go first, because there are limitations. You can only do 2 or 3 changes in a month. But you also have your operations group looking at your infrastructure, and your servers got some problems, and you're looking at the potential capacity of storage, and there's all these things. But at the end of the 30 minutes, then they put it up and they show you what you spent, what you earned, how far you got in the sales thing, where you're about to falter in your systems and so forth. It's just really very well done. So then the next round, you learn, we got to talk to each other. So service level management's got to do the connecting, and they do that. And then usually by the 3rd round is when you start to understand the real potential that change has on the cost of doing business and on the success of earning more. So it really pulls it all out very, very clearly, and very kind of aha moment. It's really fabulous.
Well, it looks like Felix just put a link into that particular simulation, so thank you for that, Felix. Anybody else have any questions for Irma? Okay, I will gather by the silence that everyone is good for now. So thank you, Irma. I really appreciate you taking some time with us today and sharing your presentation. As a reminder, the recording will be available within a few days on the EDUCAUSE wiki site. If you want to view past recordings and upcoming events, it's also on the wiki page. Again, thank you, Irma, and thank you, everyone, for taking some time out to join this presentation. Everyone have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.